Good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 21st, 2016 City Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
John Kerry.
Present.
Peg Coniff. Salem Derby.
Present.
Jennifer Hayes.
Here.
J.P. Kaczynski.
Here.
Joe McCoy.
Here.
Dan Rist.
Here.
Tamara Smith.
Here.
Joy Winnie.
Here.
Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of December 7th.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and second approval of minutes of December 7th. All those in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Get those, Barb? Okay. Motion still passes. Public speak time. If there's anyone here from the public who would like to address, there are no public hearings tonight, but would like to address the council, please feel free to come to this podium and state your name and address for the record. Also, if you could just try to keep to about 2 or 3 minutes.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Greg Rowland. I live at 23 Summer Street here in East Hampton. I am the City Council representative to the CPA Committee, and I come here this evening for a couple purposes, but I want to thank the City Council for reappointing me to the CPA Committee, and every now and then it probably behooves me to show up and say hi, and so you can see the face that's doing that. And I'd like to, because it's Christmas time and the holidays and so forth, I just want to, I was going to actually read a letter. I sent a letter to you all. I don't know if you received that, but because it's so close to the holidays, I thought I'd read something else. So this is a card. It says, "Dear East Hampton City Council members and all dutiful public servants of East Hampton, warmest wishes for the happiest of holiday seasons. Thank you for your service and dedication. Your thoughtfulness, foresight, good judgment, and willingness to work together effectively has been and will continue to be a tremendous asset to our community. Sincerely, Kate and Greg Rowland." Kate is my wife. So I just wanted to recognize you all for the good work that you do in your community. I don't think you're here nearly enough. So it's really important.
20 years.
So, and then I know you're going to be hearing a little bit on the issue of marijuana legalization and also retail locations here in East Hampton. It's an issue that I have some strong feelings about. I'm the father of 3 school-aged daughters here in town. We live very close to the center of town, and we are constantly walking up and down the streets of East Hampton. I'm about to go off. Actually, there's a 6 o'clock basketball game that I'm coaching, co-coaching, thankfully. So I'm going to run out of here, but it's 4th, 5th, and 6th grade girls that I'm coaching. And I just want you to think about that age and keep that age in mind, partly because what I'm discovering for that age is they're really paying attention. They're paying attention to what we adults do in the community. They're starting to see that there's a difference maybe between what we say and what we do. They're very attentive to the messaging that we send, whether it's implicit or explicit. And they would be I know my daughters would be very curious to understand the contradictions around this issue of drug legalization, especially when there are medical and detrimental effects to youth, and yet we're saying that it's medicinal and good. So I urge you to take caution. Those of you on the committee, I imagine you read the Gazette. This morning there was an article in the Gazette. South Hadley just put a moratorium on retail locations in South Hadley for the next 6 months. They're taking a very cautious, prudent approach to retail locations, and I urge you to not rush into this issue. I think we have to ask whether we want to be a destination city for drug legalization, and whether we want, it's a matter of when, right, this is going to happen, but how are we going to approach this issue thoughtfully and with the needs of all of our members of the community in mind. So with that, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come forward?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hope all your families stay healthy. My name is John Courtney. I'm from Southampton. I'm speaking under my First Amendment rights. My brother's in charge of the Courtney LLC. In 2009, I was invited to a subcommittee meeting of the City Council. I was minding my own business. They invited me in. So I went in, and Ron Chartnell was there, Mr. Bouchard, and Sykowski. And they were talking about what was going on, and I just said, look, planning board's broken. Did everything they wanted, anyways. They said, well, you should be on a committee and bring something for us to vote on. She said the city council usually gets things right. So I said, well, okay, but so he went and told somebody there should be a highway business committee to see what's going on. So Ron saw me and he said, you should get on that committee. I said, well, I'm from Southampton. I pay some taxes in town. I said, so I went to the meeting. I got there about 10 minutes late. There were 15 people there. Ann Parizeau was there. She was there as a citizen, not as a planning board member. So anyways, I got on the committee. And I would like to explain that 4.5-year journey to you and the dips and turns. I'd like to do that at the next meeting. It'll take me probably 15 or 20 minutes. Be happy to answer any of your questions to the best of my knowledge. And if you allow that, I would like to do that. I think that you should know what went on. So.
Sorry, this concerning your appointment on the Highway Business District Subcommittee?
Yeah. No, the process of what happened on the committee and the results.
Probably the best way to do is we get we don't create a quorum, but a couple of at-large counselors and a district counselor, although you don't live in East Hampton anymore, but that might be the better way to have a back and forth discussion about what you felt went on. So do you want me to do that? We could get maybe 3 or 4 of us together.
Sure.
That might be it. So why don't we, I have your contact information, so I'll call you and we can set something up then. Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's anyone else here from the public, okay, please.
She's not public.
Hello, my name is Deborah Lusmia, and I'm the chairperson of the East Hampton School Committee. And I'm here tonight because I would like to read a letter that the school committee wrote to all of you, and it's regarding the recent legalization of marijuana in Massachusetts. Dear members of the City Council, as members of the school committee of the City of East Hampton, we are concerned about possible unintended consequences of the legalization of marijuana in Massachusetts. Unless implemented thoughtfully and carefully, the retail sale of marijuana could adversely impact young people in our city and the broader family-friendly culture that East Hampton has endeavored to create. We would like to see the City Council limit the number of retail marijuana licenses allowed in East Hampton to no more than 20% of the number of licenses issued for liquor stores in East Hampton. Our understanding is that the City Council can do this with a simple vote. While we acknowledge that adults may safely manage their private consumption of marijuana, as with the consumption of alcohol, there's clear medical evidence of the risk of harmful health consequences for our young people. The evidence from studies conducted by health authorities, including the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Medical Association, shows that regular marijuana use by teenagers and young adults impairs brain development, diminishes learning, reduces IQ, motivation, and memory. Clearly, unregulated use of marijuana puts at risk both the physical well-being and academic performance of our young people. To our concern, there is a false perception among teenagers that marijuana is safe for their consumption. We need to be careful as a community not to reinforce that perception by normalizing its availability. We also need to be careful not to increase the allure of marijuana through the excessive presence of storefronts. Of particular concern are THC edibles, including sweet candies, sodas, cookies, and snacks, which constitute nearly half of the marijuana market. Edibles are easy to share and conceal, and monitoring products of this nature in schools will be an additional and challenging responsibility for our administrators, teachers, and health educators. Right now, East Hampton has cultivated a vibrant, family-friendly culture that everyone can enjoy. Let us protect that culture to ensure that our city will continue to be inviting for visitors, children, and families. We need to take a cautious approach with this new law to avoid an unregulated number of marijuana retail stores that could potentially transform the character of our city and negatively influence the health and safety of our young people and schools. For all of these reasons, we ask the City Council to vote on a measure to limit the licensing of marijuana retail stores in East Hampton. In accordance with the General Law 94G, Section 3, we request that the number of licenses be limited to no more than 20% of the number of licenses issued for liquor stores. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully, the East Hampton School Committee.
Thank you.
And what
Will we all be getting a copy of that letter?
Yes, I have
Okay.
a copy for everyone. right
Great,
here.
thank you very
I'll
much.
leave that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's already inside.
Good evening. I'm Robert Hill. I'm the headmaster at Williston Northampton School, and I live at 37 Park Street up the road. And thank you, Deb. I'll probably be on her coattails for some of what I want to share, which is a letter that I also sent. But I think that the repetition of some of the themes shows how seriously the educators in town take the passage of the new law. My letter is, Dear East Hampton City Council, as a longstanding member of the East Hampton community, the Williston Northampton School has a deep interest in the city's economic health and vibrancy and safety of its community. The growth in recent years of the downtown business district has been exciting, with new businesses and events that the school, employees, alumni, current and prospective students and their families frequent. Whether during an event like the monthly art walk or just a regular weekend evening, Union and Cottage Streets have a wonderful atmosphere that is friendly to children and families. We applaud the great work that the City Council, the Mayor, and many groups and individuals have done to create this growth and have been pleased to be involved in some small part with various initiatives. Given that, the recent legalization of marijuana in all of its forms and potency brings up complex issues. We recognize that it provides new retail opportunities for the city, but it also raises concerns, particularly for a school like ours with hundreds of high school-age children who frequently walk downtown to visit restaurants and other local businesses. The American Academy of Pediatrics is just one of many organizations who have asserted that marijuana is harmful to adolescent health and development, impairing concentration, motivation, memory, decision-making, and academic performance. Unfortunately, though, many teens believe marijuana is safe, and widespread public availability next to shops they already know and love is only likely to reinforce this impression. As the City Council considers how to implement the new law in East Hampton, we therefore call upon its members to enact careful limits on the number of licenses in accordance with the legalization law. Specifically, we are joining with the East Hampton Public Schools and other concerned groups to ask that the number of retail marijuana licenses be limited to no more than 20% of the licenses issued for liquor package stores within East Hamptons in accordance with the new law. Limiting the number of licenses is an essential step to ensure that our city remains inviting and safe for children, families, and visitors to the city. We ask the City Council take a thoughtful, considered approach in rolling out this new state law and vote to restrict the number of licenses. Respectfully, Robert W. Hill, Head of School. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope you consider that.
Mr. Hill, did you say you sent those letters on?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We have it on our.
Oh, it's on, okay, there it is. Got it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Ever. I am the coordinator for the East Hampton Healthy Youth Coalition, and on behalf of the coalition and the executive committee, I would like to address also just briefly the statewide legalization of marijuana. I think you all know that our coalition's mission is to prevent underage drug use, prevent addiction, and support strong and healthy families and youth in our community. And while we can't enforce or legislate away all drug abuse, a city can be proactive in creating policies that aim to protect youth from gaining access to substances or being targeted in the marketing of drugs that can harm their developing brains. For this reason, we also support the recommendation by both of the school districts and hope that the City Council will consider it. The Massachusetts Municipal Association has written a detailed letter to the Governor, House Speaker, and Senate President, clearly articulating several areas of concern regarding the marijuana referendum. That letter states in part, quote, "Cities and towns have a responsibility to ensure that the new law is implemented locally in a manner that protects the public interest, including addressing public health and public safety concerns, and ensuring that the rollout does not negatively impact residents, other businesses, neighborhoods, economic development plans, or other important considerations," unquote. We stand ready to assist our city and be a resource in this effort and heartily support measures that City Council might take that prioritizes the health of our youth. We also remain committed, of course, to offering the educational programming and support to parents and youth based on best practices and data in this new era of legalized marijuana. I didn't bring copies of what I said, but I did bring copies of the MMA letter in case you all haven't seen it yet, so I'm happy to leave those if that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to address the council concerning issues? Okay, not seeing one. I think that moves us on to communications, elected officials, boards, and committees. I don't think we've had anything. Mr. Derby, Councilor List.
While all these people are here and they may take off, I need to ask, because I am woefully underprepared regarding the marijuana law, and I'm wondering if it's all right with the President if I ask, Councilor Derby may know more about it than I do, just a couple of questions to inform me and anybody out there. Why was a moratorium necessary in South Hadley? Are we under some mandate by the state to have this?
I think we have to stop this. I think we're going open meeting law. We're talking about a deliberation about something that isn't on the agenda.
I'm asking questions.
You agree? City Clerk?
I'm on the rules, and I don't believe that I am deliberating. I'm asking a question, and I wanted to know about how the law directs us. It doesn't tell us.
And you'd like a response from him, and that's on deliberation.
I don't consider it. All right, never mind.
City Clerk, do you have it? I'm putting it in there.
It's already on our agenda.
The item is on the agenda, and it is in ordinance committee at this time, and that may be the only mitigating factor about answering
I'm not
the
asking
question.
If the council is fine with it, then I will.
Yeah, I can try to. We normally don't respond to anything that the public brings to the table if it isn't on our agenda for that discussion, that meeting. But I think this is on the agenda, and I agree that I don't think a back and forth at this time would be appropriate with the
I'm
public.
not
But to
asking
answer
for
a
back and
councilor's
forth,
question, I
and I'm
think
not asking that a debate happen.
Yeah.
I'm asking for information
Clarification.
so that I can be clarified. And I'm not going to bring forward something like South Hadley did a moratorium. I need to know what the law says. And I'm saying that because maybe these people out here could hear what the law says. And maybe you're not prepared, Councilor Derby, on it. I just want to know if we're under a mandate to get this done quickly.
No, so I can't answer that. No, we're not under a mandate to get it done quickly. And I do not believe that a moratorium is necessary because I don't believe that retail stores can open up for
Before
a
we
year
do
from
something.
now.
Oh, really?
So, and I don't have my folder in front of me, but that's the best answer I can give you.
That's all I wanted to know is why did they do a moratorium? And
I don't think it's necessary.
I agree with the notion that we should take our time and do it right. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Hayes had her hand up.
Councilor Hayes.
The state has until September 2017 to develop the regulations for this type of use. So that would then give municipalities 1 month to develop local zoning and or other regulations before applications come in. So we're just being kind of proactive like we were with the medical marijuana. So just kind of getting feedback, putting things together, and then it's already in ordinance committee, if that helps at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Correspondence, anybody from any councilors would like to comment about anything going on in their districts? Sometimes I forget to ask. Okay, Mayor Communications, Mayor Cadger.
Okay, so I actually have some good news. This is, I had asked to get this on the agenda. It's an acceptance of gifts. We received a gift yesterday, so I wasn't able to get it on the agenda for last Thursday morning. But instead of waiting to the next council meeting, we're usually really happy to accept gifts. So what you have in front of you tonight is to accept the purchase of a 14-foot soft-sided inflatable hard-bottom rescue boat with a 25 horsepower motor. This vessel is fully equipped with rescue gear for 6 police and fire personnel and was donated by the Williston Northampton School. And it's a total cost of $10,164.71. And Bob, if you don't mind coming up, I'd like to thank you. But what I thought was really interesting, you might want to see. I'll pass these down. Or I have, I keep calling them before and after, but it really is the old and the new. So we have the old rescue boat. And I gotta tell you, the old rescue boat looks really good in these pictures. So it doesn't look half as good as these. So we got the old rescue boat, the new rescue boat, and then they're together. So Karen, I just thought it was interesting. And just want to take the moment to thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And if you have any, and this, I think the counselors will remember, this was on my capital plan. And I got a call from Chuck and Bob and said during their directors' meetings they wanted to, look through the capital plan and see if there were some items on there that they might be interested in. And this just was a perfect fit. And the funny thing is, I had already put it forward as a transfer, which you'll remember we just withdrew it. So this was funding this was something that was definitely a capital purchase that we needed to purchase now, for the coming season, for the spring. And so it just was perfect that it fit in. They picked it off our capital list. We took it off our transfer. And to me, it's a win-win for everybody. And as the two chiefs can tell you that they've all worked together, it actually got a little upgraded, which is a good thing. The motor got upgraded since when we had first started out, and it won't only be used for the pond, it'll also be used for the river. So if you have any questions, these are the experts here that can tell you about it.
Do you have any questions for either the chiefs about the vehicle? The boat? Vehicle. Okay.
I do.
Councilor.
What are we doing with the old one? Are we going to keep that as a spare? Looks pretty good.
I can tell you that has become very popular. In the pictures, it looks nice. However, the only thing we've been able to date is the motor. The motor is in 1980. The boat, going through our archives, all we know it's pre-1954.
Wow.
And
still floats?
Unless you're own stock in Flex Seal, I wouldn't bother buying it because it has holes and it leaks.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
The other thing I wanted to say too, and I know both chiefs were talking about it earlier, is with the other one, just looking at it, first of all, kind of looks like a little fishing boat, but when they did rescue somebody, to pull them out of the water over the side, it almost capsizes the boat. So very, very well needed, and two totally different items.
Thank you. Councilor, did you want to?
I just wanted to make it if I could.
Okay, I think I can speak for the whole council again for Wilson. Thank you very much for your generous donation. Okay.
Mr. President, I move that the City Council accept, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the acceptance of the gift of a purchase of a 14-foot soft-sided inflatable hard-bottom rescue boat for the cost of donated by Williston Northampton School for a total cost of $10,164.71.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to accept the gift from Wilson of the rescue boat, $10,164.71. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay, so moving on, Finance, Councilor Rist.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had our regularly scheduled meeting last week, and we did approve both the ordinance, acceptance of the ordinance, Chapter 2, Article 4, and the $49,229 transfer. I would like at this time to make a motion to set a public hearing for January 4th in these chambers for both of those items.
Second.
So second motion and a second for a public hearing set at 1/4 for the two items on the Finance Subcommittee agenda. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And I would like to state that we will not have a meeting on next week because we have nothing on our agenda requiring action. Wow. In fact, that's a rarity for me. But We won't have another meeting until we get something from the mayor to act on. So thank you, Mr. President, that's all.
Public Safety, Counselor Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a meeting scheduled for the day before our next meeting. I believe that's January 2nd. Or January 3rd. January 3rd at 6:30. And that is where we'll continue our discussion about Mobilite and the on-street parking for a section of Pleasant Street
6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock.
I said 6:30? I've got that in my head. 6 o'clock. This concludes.
Okay, thank you. Appointments, Counselor Smith.
Thank you. The appointment subcommittee met earlier tonight at 5:30 downstairs, and we approved 3-0 the mayoral appointment of Marley Stoddard to the ECA Plus Committee with a term expiration of 12/31/19. So I'd like to move that forward to the full council in a form of a motion to consider this mayoral appointment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, for the appointment of Marley Stoddard, ECA Plus. Additional questions or comments? I know I said during the appointment she's been like bedrock for East Hampton as far as the arts and business, coordinating the two and so many of the events. So we're glad she's coming back and certainly willing to continue to volunteer for the city. So motion, Councilor.
I'm going to add my 2 cents that Marlise took over the Business National Art Galleries from her mom, and they've been a cornerstone of Cottage Street stations and Cottage Street in itself. And it's just that she wants to just keep continuing helping the city grow and put forth all of her energies is just wonderful. So.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And there are 2 new mayoral appointments to move forward, and I'll make these in the form of a motion. I'd like to forward Monica Kane for the position of Personnel Director with a term expiration of 12/31/19, and Monica Grezzi Mulia for the Council on Aging with a term expiration of 12/31/18 to be considered at our next appointment subcommittee meeting.
Which is January.
Oh, I was going to go on.
Sorry, is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, motion, a second to move those 2 appointments to appointment subcommittee. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And our next appointment subcommittee is going to be on January 4th at 5:30.
Okay. Would you be, Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead.
would you be interviewing Monica Kane at that time? Or not?
We will ask her to come to the meeting, and we'll have the mayor come to the meeting as well to
Okay.
talk about her
Thank you.
application. Planning on it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Okay, that concludes.
Okay. Counselor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you can see, we have a full docket. We will be meeting January 11th, 6 p.m. to discuss the sanctuary city designation. And that will be here. I'm expecting a decent turnout. I think that's the only thing we're going to be covering that night. So our next meeting after that will be on the 25th, where we will kind of take a stab at some of these other things that we have on here, which we still have some important things before we even tackle our new items. We do have, just to give an update, we do have a working draft of the food truck ordinance. I just talked to the chief. He would like to take a look at it, potentially looking at some new regulations from the Mass Fire Code about propane tanks. So we want to make sure that we are being as diligent as possible. So make sure we talk to him. And Councilor Smith wasn't able to be at our last meeting, so we don't have an update on the plastic bags, but we are moving forward with that, looking at a potential solution. So we'll keep working on that. That concludes.
Great, thank you. Property, Councilor Kwasinski.
No report.
Okay, rules, regulations, Councilor Riss.
No report, Mr. President.
Okay, we have no old business. We took care of new business, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and saying motion passes. Happy holidays, everyone. See you.